rather than the entire population. This, the committee said, did not conform to the values and principles set out in relation to 3.2J and L of the Constitution, which relate to the equitable sharing of natural resources, including land and devolution funds. So your view as ZEC, what this parliamentary ad hoc committee said, was this factual? And did the Commission address these concerns if they were raised in the report, particularly this issue about not using census figures? Maybe first explain what were you supposed to do and what were the parliamentarians saying you didn't?
Under normal circumstances, the census should have taken place a lot earlier. But you know, we had this pandemic, the COVID pandemic, and the census was only carried out in July. And then we had to submit our delimitation report with the timing such that at least the next election, the delimitation report must be submitted at least 6 months before the next election. Yes.
So you believe that therefore, well, hang on. So you're saying that this was a true criticism. However, there were reasons why you had to do this. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that is a fact. That we used what we call preliminary statistics because that's what was available, right? Okay. And there is no. What I'm happy about it is that even those figures that we were given were validated by in the final report of the.
What about this issue about ZEC only consider the adult population rather than the entire population? What does that actually mean?
Because you see, because we're talking about registered voters, right? So registered voters are 18 and above. So that's the adult population. But in other areas, other considerations that would be brought on board, like for instance, like land use, community of interest, and so forth. All those things are provided for by the Constitution.
Well, this is it, because it sounds as if the delimitation, depending on how you look at it, can be skewed depending on the viewpoint and what you see and what you read as the law or so. I will give you another example. According to the committee, ZEC did not comply with Section 37A of the Electoral Act and consult stakeholders fairly, particularly traditional leaders. As a result, in some areas, voters were moved to different constituencies and wards from their traditional leaders. Your comment on that? I mean, that can be quite serious.
With all due respect, there was no way. I mean, we could avoid engaging traditional leaders, local leadership, and so forth, because in any case, Andy, we do have the records that confirm the consultations that we did at appropriate level.
But surely you must be concerned that Andy's in chief, Mutetwa's area, suddenly now I'm suddenly in chief, whatever, Hodges' area. I mean, surely that could have some fundamental, I mean, this is people who've been under different chiefs for centuries.
In fact, it's not correct, because what has happened is that voters still remain at their polling areas, polling stations. They have not been moved. They will still vote from their, polling areas.
So it's about what ward or constituency you're voting in, rather than physical movement of your being and your position.
Correct.
All right, let me get another issue, because there were lots of issues. Another issue raised, of course, was that ZEC should have revisited boundaries where it did not take account of community of interest between voters. Was this addressed?
Yes, it was.
Explain community of interest for our viewers.
Community of interest is, for instance, do they share health facilities, schools, land use? I mean, is it a farming area? All such things like that.
So how did you address this then? Because as you've just explained, the Constitution is very clear. 27,000 voters, you have leeway of 20% up and down. How does suddenly it being a farming area or more remote rural area matter to the delimitation exercise? Because then your numbers may be way down or way up.
Yeah, this is precisely what we're seeking to address, whereby, for instance, there were complaints about some wards being too too big in terms of the geographical area. Why? It's because the new law says we must there must be equal numbers as far as possible. Now, you'll find that in certain communities, because of the type of land use, like I'm giving the example of a farming area, naturally for us to then be able to come with a let's say the figure of say let's say a ward being 1,000 people, it means the space we have to cover is naturally larger. But then we will find other areas which are, let's say, in the peri-urban area. The concentration of people in those areas is far much higher per square meter, if you like. Yeah. So, but.
But was there's a site? Okay, fine, I can accept that, and I think most people can. But was there a scientific way of doing this? Was there a formula that you scientifically could use to make sure that so that people could look at your numbers, look at what you did, and say, yes, ZEC did it right. With their numbers are unimpeachable. There's no way that they're fixing these numbers. Is there set formulas for that? And it's all there, proven, transparent.
Yes, we did.
And can people come and see those sort of numbers being what you did? I mean, what is the process for that?
Like right now, they come again. Let me get.
Let's say I wanted to come and find out how did you analyze the delimitation? How did you work out? How did you do your numbers statistically? Can I do that as a layperson?
Yeah, we did engage. Stakeholders were engaged, and the formula used explained.
Okay, so can I get it now though as an individual, Andy?
You can.
If I wanted to.
Yeah, our experts will
walk us through.
Yeah, we'll be
all right. So I suppose before I take a breather, Ambassador, there was obviously a lot of input from parliamentarians. I think I followed the debate. It was to and fro, got quite heated sometimes, if I must say. So let me be blunt with you. The recommendations or the changes that the parliamentarians wanted to see made in the report, particularly after the debate, and they'd given the report obviously to the Speaker and then onwards to the executive branch of government. The changes that they proffered, were any of them made, or in essence, the delimitation report that went in Parliament, when it came out, nothing was changed at all. What happened?
There were changes. Where the law allowed us to change, we made those changes. Where we had made mistakes, of course, we corrected. But where it was not legally possible for us to make the changes, we pointed this out to
You responded to their report.
Yeah, we responded, and we even listed the areas that we had positively responded to, and the reasons why we did that, and where we could not change, we also explained that. It's
Okay, no, I appreciate that. Was this transparently made open to people? You have to understand, Ambassador, one of the issues that people raise about ZEC is that they feel that ZEC sometimes is not transparent. They don't tell information to citizens, and they think that that is one area that ZEC needs to improve. So when I'm talking now about what formula you use, how did you calculate it? When the parliamentarians made submissions, did you make changes? Would it not behoove you as ZEC to at least possibly publish this for everyone to read and everyone to see, so that people can have faith that, you know what, ZEC did this job, they did it correctly, and we're okay with it. But it appears that I personally have not seen anything. So if I haven't seen anything,
the delimitation report now is on our website.
Right.
You can go and buy it even from any government.
That is true. But what about the changes made by Parliament, or the changes requested and the ones that you said no or yes to?
They are there. I can't offhand say specifically this because that would be.
But we can find that. We can find your response.
Yes.
And also, as you said, we can also find how you physically calculated these boundaries.
Exactly.
I think it's very important for transparency, isn't it?
Yes. And now we are in the process. We've already started mobilizing our staff so that we embark on very serious. Civic education, so that we explain to them what the report is all about, so that people in specific areas, whether it's in District A, because as you know, we are present in 65 of our districts in Zimbabwe, as well as 10 of our offices. Now, we're going to start on a massive campaign to explain to the people what that boundary, where it is, and so forth. And more so, most importantly, we would want our people to know that where there is a dispute as to the line of the boundary, be it ward or constituent, the description, the law says description has preponderance over the physical mapping. So this is one of the things that we would want people to understand that.
Okay, and you're going to go out to all 10 provinces. You're going to try and hit as many provincial capitals, provincial centers as you can, and try to get out to as many people as possible.
It's important.
Oh, it's important. In fact, I applaud you for that, because without it, you're going to have a lot of very confused people and a lot of angry people, I think.
Exactly, and that's precisely what we don't want. We want people to be very clear as to what has been involved, what is involved, what are the expectations, what their expectations are, how we are going to end up, holding our elections, because we want our elections to be credible. The integrity of the election is not just a function of the process now, but it's also a function of what we were doing before, that is pre-election, what we're going to do now towards the election, and what we do post-election. But for that message to be communicated, we need serious voter and civic education.
You need to start on a foundation of trust. I think this is the key.
Yeah, correct.
You're watching The Chase, Zimbabwe's premier current affairs program. Our discussion after delimitation, is ZEC ready to roll? It's time for us to take a breather. Don't go away. The Chase. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Chew On, the show that links people, food and culture whilst giving you a diverse culinary experience.
Pure ingredients, wholesome, vibrant and earthy dishes. When you get all the elements together, it all sings. That's what Zimbabwean food is all about. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chew On.
Welcome back. You're watching The Chase, Zimbabwe's premier current affairs program. Our discussion after delimitation, is ZEC ready to roll? I, of course, am joined in studio by Ambassador Rodney Simukai-Kiwa, who is the Deputy Chairperson of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. Rodney, one of the reasons I was raising this issue about transparency and citizens being able to understand the process, and I'm glad you talked about this mass education that you're going to be rolling out, because there's a possible danger due to the debate and, of course, all the controversy or supposed controversy around the delimitation report, that the accusation against ZEC from various stakeholders, including political parties, could be that the Commission is effecting changes recommended in the report to benefit a particular political party. In fact, I assume that, and I say this openly, that whatever your report was, I believe that someone was going to say wrong, good or bad. But the point is this: what is ZEC doing in proofing itself against accusations of what some could call, in essence, gerrymandering?
Absolutely. We are completely, we will continue to be completely independent, to be impartial, to do what is best for this country. And how do we do that? You don't do delimitation with individuals in mind, be they individuals as in individuals or individuals as in political organizations. No. We follow the principles that I've already explained before. So I want to take this opportunity to disabuse our stakeholders of the notion that we are in any way biased. No, not at all, not at all. And this is precisely what we are going to be going out to educate people so that they can understand what was involved. So, yes, those perceptions, that's precisely why we want to deal with those perceptions. Because if there is doubt, if there is no confidence in us as an institution, how are we going to be able to come up with
Ambassador, I hear what you're saying. However, I do have an issue with this because, according to media reports, 7 of ZEC commissioners, including the spokesperson, did not append their signatures. In fact, appended their signatures to a document dismissing your initial report delivered to the president. I mean, if 7 of your commissioners said that they weren't going to append their signatures to this report, I mean, surely that shows that ZEC is not united at all, and in fact, you have your own splits at the commission level. And also, doesn't that also show that there is some form of bias because you're not being transparent about what the issues are at that level?
Andy, this issue that we are talking about is with the courts. So I don't think it will be proper for me to address it in any way and form. But once it's done, we can always go back to it and we.
Okay, all right. You're saying it's sub-justice.
Yes.
All right, because in essence, then it would appear that only the people that signed the report it belongs to. But if you say there's sub-justice and you can't talk about that, well, that's fair enough. I have spoken many times about the need, and I think ZEC has agreed with me, in fact, on some of the shows that we've done here on The Chase about this, the complete and utter confidence that's required by the electorate in your organization. I think I cannot emphasize that enough, because you just have to look in any African country, as far from Kenya to Zambia to even South Africa itself to Botswana, Namibia. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission must be impeccable. It must have a reputation of fairness, integrity, transparency, and following the dictates of the law. So do you believe that this is what's happening now? When people see that, I mean, you talk about you may not be able to comment on the court, but when you see this issues at the courts, you see issues about controversy surrounding the report. I mean, don't you feel that starts undermining some confidence that the electorate or citizens have in ZEC? What are your thoughts on that?
I think confidence in ZEC, if at all it had been lost, it will be restored. We are determined. We're putting place measures that we will. I am very confident that our integrity will be beyond reproach.
Putting in place measures how, Ambassador? What measures?
In particular, the starting point is civic education. People must know, right? Must explain. We must explain the delimitation report to them. And when we do that, when they understand what were the processes that were involved, and we also are intending to not just to but coming up with explanations in the most local languages that we can. I mean, literally, it is my wish, my ambition, my hope that we will be able to do this in at least 10 to 12 languages, depending on...
To at least reach the most of the population.
Yeah, so that we're able to reach most of the people.
Yeah,
because we have to address this perception. Yeah, whether it's a reality. Perceptions are realities in their own ways. So we must, and we are going to be addressing what we're already doing.
Because, I mean, I was talking to only someone this morning when I was looking at research in this, and the only comment I could get from 3 or 4 top economic commentators and political commentators was the way that this delimitation report and exercise was carried out was just not up to scratch. It could be done better. What would you say to such comments?
There is always room for improvement, Andy. There is always room for improvement. We have learned our lessons right now with the challenges that we faced and so forth. And these are the things that we are going to carry forward in our next exercise. This is the key here, is where we have made mistakes, we should acknowledge that, because that's a starting point, right? If people...
So where have you made mistakes, Ambassador?
No,
I mean, you're saying that if I made mistakes, we acknowledge them. Where have you made mistakes and where have you acknowledged them as ZEC? I think it's an important thing, because you're right what you're saying, by the way. That also gives confidence and people's belief in your integrity as an organization. So, but I'm asking you for proof. Where have you made a mistake and then genuinely said, we made a mistake, we're going to fix it?
Offhand, I am aware that, for instance, like in certain wards, like in Kutu South and so forth, there was a miscalculation, a misplacement. That was corrected.
Okay.
Yeah, that was corrected. There are quite a number of other corrections that we did. And obviously, the thing is that, particularly, let's say in the case of Kutu South, if I'm not mistaken, it was quite clear when this was brought to our attention that shouldn't have happened. One word being moved to another constituents, whereas the principle is that the ward which has got more numbers, more registered voters, is the one that absorbs. Yeah, but in that particular case, for one reason that wasn't the case. So we corrected that.
I think you get my point here about transparency. I think because for any election to hold its water, to hold its head up, and say we are accountable, we did this correctly, it needs to be transparent, open, fair, honest. People should have access to the results, access to what happened inside it, and I'm hoping that this is exactly ZEC's mantra for 2023.
That is our aim. That is our objective. That's what we intend to do. That's what we intend to do. I think
on that point, it's time for us to take a breather. You're watching The Chase, Zimbabwe's premier current affairs program. Our discussion after delimitation, is ZEC ready to roll? As I said, don't go away. The Chase, we'll be right back.
Buckle up and prepare to be taken on a riveting journey, unlocking the very best of Zimbabwe. Architecture and interior design, art and entertainment, people, products, produce, the great outdoors, hidden gems, and so much more. Experience the good life from the comfort of your home. Only on C'est La Vie, Mondays at 6:30 p.m. on ZTN Prime, DSTV channel 294.
Welcome back. This is The Chase, Zimbabwe's premier current affairs program. I'm Andy Hodges. Our discussion after delimitation, is ZEC ready to roll? Ambassador, I want to now start looking at the polls. I know right at the beginning of our conversation today, you started talking about now that the delimitation report's been gazetted, now let's start going forward. This is exactly what I'd like you to do right now, because we're going to the polls in the next 4 to 5 months. July, August, I understand, is the date that the window the president has given. Can you take us through the process and the progress made to date? I suppose the question can be, is Zimbabwe prepared for the harmonized elections to be held in the next 4 to 5 months? Maybe take us through this process.
Yes, we are. Our viewers should know that voting is a continuous process. So they should continue to come in their numbers to register. In this respect, what we are going to do is that from the 12th to the 21st of this month, of March, we are going to be deploying our kits, these biometric voters registers, throughout the country, and to register new voters. Not only to register new voters, but as well as to facilitate those who may wish to transfer their polling stations from, let's say, polling area or polling station X to polling
Well, let's talk about that. When you say come and register to vote, is there a specific cutoff date that citizens have to be registered to vote by so that they can vote in the next harmonized elections in June, July, August?
Yes.
What date is there a cutoff date? It's very important.
Yes, that's correct. That's a good question. There is a cutoff date 2 days after the president is proclaimed.
Right. So as soon as the president proclaims that such and such a date is the day we're going to the polls, 2 days after that, without fail, you must be registered to vote. Otherwise, you will not be allowed to vote in the 2023 harmonized election.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, fine. So we've now got the delimitation report gazetted.
Yes.
Okay, the president's gazetted it. It's now law. I can call it that. Now the boundaries are done. What happens now? And now you've done your voter education. You've gone out there. You've explained everything.
We're doing that.
Now
It's a
let's get
continuous
into the
process.
process.
Now, of course, there are some procurements to be done. That is voting, things like ink, things like ballot papers, and so forth and so on. So all that is being worked on. There are committees within the ZEC which are working on that to make sure that we should be ready by that.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to get the necessary equipment. What about issues such as vehicles of hiring individuals to put this? I mean, because I would. Oh, please continue.
Yeah.
I want to know what
okay.
actually happens now. I think
we have acquired some vehicles for purposes for this, about 9 Land Cruisers. And then, of course, we work very closely hand in hand with CMED, from whom we hire vehicles for purposes of our mobility. We also work very closely with the Public Service Commission for purposes of recruiting the very people that will be using first for voter registration as well as for civic education. Mm-hmm. We also work with the civil society groups to assist us in voter education. And then, of course, once the president has made the proclamation, 2 days after which we close the voters register for purposes of the election, but it continues.
Yeah, you can still register to vote. However, you cannot vote in that election. I think
Correct.
people need to understand
That's
because I think that was created a lot of confusion last time. If you register to vote the third day after the proclamation, your name will not be on the voters' roll for the next election. Is that correct?
Correct. That is correct.
All right. So now you've got this. Then obviously now you have all these thousands of people around the country. You obviously need to train them. You need to inspect the polling booths. You need to get the polling. But maybe talk us through that.
Yeah, we then also, of course, have to actually map the polling stations, the proper polling stations, and we educate people to say, in what so and so your polling station remains where it was, or we have moved it to X, depending on the.
One issue that came up, I know, in various discussions, and I think this very much came from urban areas, was the accusation against ZEC that in certain big constituencies with lots of voters, you reduce the number of polling stations. No. Is this something that can or can't happen?
No. We cannot do that.
Why?
Because everybody, in fact, our ideal situation is we don't want anyone walking for more than 5 kilometers.
To vote?
To vote.
In fact, your goal should be get as many people to vote as possible, surely?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
So we will facilitate our voters to be able to exercise their right. We are not there to frustrate them, no.
Okay, all right. Okay, so now you've trained everybody, you've identified the polling booths, you've probably sorted out security. I mean, this is a logistical nightmare. And then getting those votes to your... So let's talk about the day when we're talking now, because this is one of the contentious areas as well, about people saying that the numbers tallied at the polling booth are not the same as given to the command center and so on and so forth. I mean, what is that all about?
No, that is not, that is, because what we have done is we have got a maximum of 1,000 on the average per polling area. Now, when on the actual date of voting, political parties will be represented by their
Representatives.
The whole process from opening the booth to audit of the
Ballot papers.
the ballot papers to tallying, everything will be as transparent can be, and it's all done there. So any chance of anyone interfering with that it's absolutely not possible.
So why then is ZEC always put on the firing line and being accused of being biased, of supporting the ruling party, of making sure that the votes of oppositions are not tallied in rural areas? I mean, surely is this just smoke in the air, or there's no proof about this in your view? This is what commentators and critics state.
And we would not allow that to happen, because look, Andy, it's also about our integrity. How can we be associated with a faulty process? Then it will be disaster.
For you personally, you mean? And the commission members themselves?
Yeah, the commission as a whole, the entire,
Commission?
Yeah, we cannot allow that to happen.
Now, I want to... Sorry, please.
Yeah, and it's just not possible. Yeah, the way our system is set up, no, you cannot interfere with
Now, I recall, and we've had many discussions with the organization over the course of the last couple of years, and also at the last election, then going into this, I'm sure we'll continue the debate. But one thing that kept coming up then was the issue that political parties should register for the 2023 polls and submit their party constitutions. There was also ideas that parties should sign peace pledges and electoral ethics, behavior and integrity agreements, because of course one of the major concerns to Zimbabwean citizens is violence. Before, during, after. And I think it is a great fear that many Zimbabweans are holding right now close to their chests. They're scared of these elections because of violence. So where is ZEC in terms of being a leading light, or at least a leading arbiter of political parties agreeing to non-violence at any stage during the electoral process?
Yeah, in fact, we should be activating the multi-party liaison committees any time now, so that we work with the political parties, as well as civil society, church organizations, traditional leaders, appealing to our people to be peaceful and so forth.
Just hold that thought. We're going to have to take a break. Of course, you're watching The Chase, Zimbabwe's premier current affairs program. Don't go away, The Chase. We'll be right back.
guys, this is your guy Ja Praiser. Catch ZT and Prime on DSTV channel 294. Icho, Ogwizi, out.
Welcome back. You're watching The Chase, Zimbabwe's premier current affairs program. I'm Andy Hodges. Our discussion after delimitation, is ZEC ready to roll? Now, Ambassador, before the break, we were talking about these peace pledges that have been talked about, these behavior pledges, these ethics pledges, these integrity agreements. I mean, all things that every political party that I have spoken to right here on The Chase has agreed that they are willing to sign. Because, as I said before the breather, the issue here is about peaceful, fair elections which allow me to vote for the party of my choice or your choice without fear, victimization, or favor. Tell us about where we stand on these issues.
Yeah, we are committed to doing exactly that, working with other, sister institutions like the National Peace and Reconciliation Commission, the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, the Gender Commission, the Anti-Corruption ZAC Commission, the Media Commission, and the Broadcasting Authority of Zimbabwe, and everybody that we can bring on board. We are doing that because, you see, the thing is that it's a collective effort. Without the nation complementing each other's efforts, we cannot be able to deliver
But isn't this really down to the political parties themselves agreeing that this is the way that they want to hold civilized democratic elections, and that's what they're going to stick to? How about getting the political parties around the table? How conducive are they to talk about things like peace pledges, to talk about things like ethics and integrity pledges? How open are they to these proposals?
They are, because they commit themselves to the code of conduct, and I have no reason to doubt their
commitment. But didn't that happen in 2018 and it didn't matter?
Yeah, it happens, but this is exactly the nature of human beings. The spoiler element will always be there, but it's therefore our responsibility as ZEC, together working hand in hand with these other institutions and leadership that I'm talking about, including the police, to make sure that this is kept to the minimal.
I think some critics and commentators say that, in fact, ZEC itself also has a role to play in damping down and eliminating electoral violence before, during, and after the polls, especially during and after. Because, of course, it is ZEC that would announce things, and all of a sudden they may delay results because of various reasons, and of course that's taken as if you're trying to get someone else to win, or you're stuffing ballots. Because this is what happens out there, does it not? People can make, rumors can surface by ZEC's very actions that can actually lead to some form or other of violence. Do you believe that the way that ZEC acts, the actions that ZEC takes during, and particularly when it's being counted, when it's being tallied, when it's being announced, do you believe that the way that you do that can actually have an impact on whether there's violence or not, or as a hypothetical situation?
Indeed, but I think this is where education comes in. For our people, for our stakeholders to understand that there is a time frame within which ZEC must announce the results. And I hold the view that there is no need to rush. We must make sure that we go through. Of course, if we are done within 48 hours, why not announce the results? We'll do that. But I personally strongly believe that we must be thorough. We must be thorough, make sure that we have done the correct thing, the tallying, everything, the accuracy is beyond any reproach, and then we make the announcement. But of course, within the legal time frame.
That begs the question, of course. If you have tallies and votes being counted at polls, at the polling station itself.
Correct.
Okay, right. So therefore, everyone is clear that in Gokwe North,
Yes.
these are the results. Such and such won, so came second. This is how much votes they had.
Even posted.
All right. They then send that to you guys in
Yes,
Harare, and
yes.
it takes you 48 hours, if not longer, to announce those results. Do you not see why citizens or political parties can start getting a little bit suspicious?
No, this is precisely what we must educate our people to say no. The system is such that there is at no point can we interfere with the results if they have been determined at various levels. So I would want to reassure the nation that no, we will do everything that is in the best interest of this country. And what is in the best interest of this country is peace. Yeah, but for that to happen, we need to work together. We need to believe. This is why I strongly believe that if our voter education, all right, if we get it right, people will understand the process, what is involved, and so forth. But when people have not been really educated enough as to what is involved in this, then we'll be creating a problem for ourselves, and we have no intention of creating that problem at all. We want to have a during election, post-election peace and tranquility.
Yeah, I think the whole of Zimbabwe wants that too, Ambassador.
Yes, we want to do that.
But so this concept of saying that there are loopholes in the system, whether they be at rural or faraway polling booths, that parties can stuff the ballot box. Are you saying that
No.
under the current system that we have to vote, it is literally impossible?
Literally impossible.
Okay.
That I can assure you.
You said that was extremely confident. I think it's very important that we ask you these questions, because it's very important that citizens, and I think this is, when you do have this as maybe some advice, when you do have this outreach program and educate people, I think you also need to educate people on the integrity of the election process. I think that's critical.
Yeah, this is why I'm saying that is virtually impossible.
Okay, all right. Well, that's an interesting to know. Right, then we have come to my final question, and of course, as I always say to my guests, we could be talking here for hours, because this is very fascinating to both of us. But my final question, right now you're talking to the Zimbabwe electorate, you're talking to registered voters out there. Zek, what would be your message that you would like to give our viewers here at ZTM Prime in terms of what's happening now, in terms of delimitation, what's happening going forward, what they can expect on ballot day? What message would you give them? What would be your message to them?
To participate in our stakeholder consultations, because it's very, very important that they do, wherever possible, to participate in that consultation.
This outreach that
outreach. That's what.
How would they find out about it, though? I mean, if I'm sitting in a
we
village,
are going to be engaging you, starting with you. We are going to be doing radio programs. We are going to be doing our social media. We are going to do everything that helps us to reach out to people, particularly radio and the social media, and they can also check the status of their registration using the hashtag star 265.
Star 265 hash.
Correct.
265 hash. Then you'll be able to find out whether you're registered, all your details.
Yes, on Econet as well as on Net One.
Same number.
Same number.
Okay.
Yeah, and let's, as Zimbabweans, let's believe in ourselves. Let's believe that we can conduct peaceful elections. Let's believe that it's possible to live harmoniously, never mind our diversity in terms of our political.
And I would hope, because one thing I have noticed, and this is a view, and I think that everyone would agree, Zimbabwe is heavily politically polarized. In fact, I can make a comment about this bottle of water, and you will immediately attack me for saying it. I think that's how polarized we can be, and I think that cannot be good for a maturing democracy like ours.
It's most unfortunate. Polarization, it does not work for anyone's good, and this is precisely where leadership kicks in at whatever level, to teach our people get them to appreciate, to acknowledge our differences, to accept that we see things differently, and that we were entitled to our own political views.
And what about winners being winners, losers being losers? I think that's also another issue that we have a problem with here, in the sense that someone can lose and say, I actually won, similar to what I would call the Trump gate story, where he says, I won and everyone must believe him even though he lost. I mean, that is a danger as well.
That will be most unfortunate. That will be most unfortunate. This is why, it comes back to leadership, to say we must enter into a race. Someone wins, someone loses, and as long as it is something that is, we must follow the law, we must respect our own laws, because if we don't, then how are we expecting?
My final comment, I just need a yes or no. After delimitation, is ZEC ready to roll, sir?
Yes. A definite yes.
A definite yes.
Yes, a definite yes.
ZEC Deputy Chairperson Ambassador Rodney Simukai Kiwa, thank you so much for appearing on The Chase.
Okay,
well, we have come to the end of The Chase. And of course, The Chase is Zimbabwe's premier current affairs program. And of course, our discussion today, after delimitation, is ZEC ready to roll? And of course, it's been my greatest pleasure to host ZEC Deputy Chairperson Ambassador Rodney Simukai Kiwa. Well, that's it for my show. I'm Andy Hodges. Have a great evening wherever you may be. Good night, and please, you all be safe.
Bora letu, ibola letu, our football. Feel it, it's here. FC Platinum versus Bulawayo Chiefs in the Castle Challenge Cup. Who will reign supreme? Catch all the action live from Mandawa Stadium this Saturday, 11 March at 2 p.m. exclusively on ZTN Prime, the DSTV channel 294. Sports